Mr. Chairman, it's good to see you again here. Republicans are urging their own conservatives and colleagues to take Tallarico seriously. This remains an uphill climb, though, for Democrats. What do you say to those Democratic voters who always get their hopes up each cycle only to be disappointed?
Look, states like Texas don't flip overnight. It is the most expensive state to operate in. It's geographically expansive. It's a tough territory to organize in. And so we have to do this one bite at a time, cycle over cycle. This cycle does seem like it's going to be one that's very favorable to us, and we have a lot of opportunity. But it's building our party in 254 counties around this state from the ground up, focused on organizing, not on just paying a bunch of consultants to buy their way out of this problem. And I think that we have a great opportunity, a fantastic candidate at the top of ticket against Republicans who are running the biggest foot in American politics. It's a great kind of contrast for Democrats here in Texas.
John Cornyn spent $90 million trying to get Republican voters to care about the ethical issues that Ken Paxton had, the divorce, the impeachment on corruption charges. Those Republican voters didn't care. The independents in this state, as you well know, lean to the right. Why do you think that they will care if Cornyn couldn't convince his own voters?
Well, Republican primary voters may not care, but I do think your average voter in Texas does. And I'll also remind you that there is a large chunk of voters in the Republican primary that, even after a Trump endorsement, refused to stand behind Ken Paxton. As an attorney general, Ken Paxton's never once gotten out of bed and thought about how to make you and your life better. He only thinks about how to serve himself and Donald Trump. And if you want someone that's going to come to the table with solutions, a common sense person who has proven in the legislature their ability to get things done, James Tallarico is really your only choice here. And so that's how I think we're going to be able to pull this off. It's going to be a coalition of people that are looking for good government in Texas.
And you mentioned earlier in the interview too, in Sarita, how Republicans are trying to frame him as this person who's out of touch with Texas. And you mentioned how he's not a scary guy; he's a school teacher.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that this is the Republican playbook. It's like, let's drum up a bunch of social wars and try to see if it sticks. But I think the people of Texas right now are hurting, and they want somebody that's going to come to the table with solutions. That's James Tallarico. He's a person who's interested in making your life more affordable. Right now, everyone has pain at the pump. They have pain whenever they're trying to put food on the table, to put soccer cleats on their kids. And Ken Paxton going around and trying to drum up social wars does not solve any of those problems for people. They want people to bring solutions to the table in the United States Senate. That's what James Tallarico would do.
Let me ask you about that very first ad that Ken Paxton's campaign put out against Tallarico, using Tallarico's past comments. God is non-binary. The American flag is a complicated symbol. Do you think those are going to hurt Tallarico's chances when it comes to independent voters?
I think it's the only chance that Paxton has, and that's what he's trying to do, right? He's going to lean on those types of things. No one's life is impacted by Ken Paxton drawing these statements out of context, okay? So he can do that. That's fine. We in the Democratic Party and James Tallarico's campaign are focused on solutions for families that are needing us. That's what government's supposed to be. I know everybody thinks it's just Hollywood for ugly people, but the truth is they're supposed to be solving people's problems and making people's lives better. And that's what we're going to be focused on here on the Democratic side of the aisle.
Mr. Chairman, the reality on the ground here is this state voted for Donald Trump 3 times, despite January 6th, despite the president saying grab women in certain areas. Why do you think Texas voters might now look towards a Democrat like Tallarico?
I think a lot has changed, particularly the fact that Texas has been adversely impacted by the Trump administration. We are uniquely hurt by the policies, whether it is the import of Argentinian beef or outsourcing the jobs of oilfield workers to Venezuela, or these tariffs. The largest trading partner with Canada is San Antonio, Texas. We are being impacted in Texas in a way that other states are feeling it to the same degree, but they're still feeling it. And so I think that Texans are tired of it. They're tired of all the raucous. They're tired of these politicians just serving the billionaire class, just serving the politically connected, and not serving the people who are counting on them.
The Democratic primary was a bitter one. I'm specifically thinking about Jasmine Crockett, James Tallarico, then Colin Allred. who's now the Democratic nominee for Congress in Dallas, versus James Tallarico. Should you, as chairman, step in and try to unite those two so the party can have a unified front?
Look, the primary's over. We're all on the same team, okay? There's going to be some hurt feelings, but I promise you that as we're getting towards November, no one's interested in their interpersonal dynamics. We're interested in the cause that we have all signed up for, and that's making people's lives better. We're the champions for the little guy. And so what doesn't matter what side you were on during primaries. Primaries happen. All that's behind us. We're moving forward on a team united in a coordinated effort, trying to move the ball forward for working class families. I know Congressman Allred is on board that. I know Congresswoman Johnson's on board that. I know Congresswoman Crockett's on board that. I know James Tallarico's on that. And so we're all in this together. I know people want to make drama out of primaries, but our primary is long done, and we're bear hugging and running to November.
Do you expect Texas voters are ever going to see Ken Paxton and James Tallarico side by side in a forum, in a debate? Anything like that?
Well, I sure hope so. I don't think Ken Paxton would want to do that. The guy is so lacking in depth when it comes to actual policies that make people's lives better. He only wants to wage in social woes. I'd be surprised if Ken Paxton took him up on that, but I certainly hope that he would. I think that James Tallarico is probably chomping at the bit for the opportunity to do it. Paxton is a deeply flawed candidate. He is spent his entire time as AG mired in fraud, in indictments. He's not someone who average Texans want representing them. It's kind of an embarrassment that he even would be considered to represent us. So I think James Tallarico would do just fine in a head-to-head against Ken Paxton.
Last question for you. All kinds of projections are out there on what this race might cost, being the most expensive race ever in Texas political history. What kind of money are we talking about between now and November?
Man, I'm not sure. Republicans just spent $130 million tearing each other apart, and I'm sure they're going to try to come in and do the same. This could very well be one of the most expensive Senate races in United States history. I'm not sure, what the Tallarico team's plan is to raise internally. I know that our coordinated campaign for the Texas Democratic Party is the largest and most financed in the state's history. And so I would not be surprised if this became an extremely expensive endeavor. But that's the nature of being in a state the size of Texas with so many media markets.